Hey quilting friends, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite quilting and sewing YouTuber here, and I have got a new fun ruler to play with for this month's Ruler of the Month. It is the Turbo 4-patch. I use this Turbo 4-patch to make a fun free pattern. That's right, because this is a Ruler of the Month. It is a pattern that is free, but only for this month until next month's pattern comes out. So you can go down to the description box, click on the link, and you'll be taken to where that pattern lives. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go over what the Turbo 4-patch is, how it works, and then we're going to sew up a 4-patch with some scrap fabric that I have left over. This is actually scrap fabric left over from when I made this silver bell pattern. So we have our Turbo 4-patch. This is a Creative Grids ruler. It has the fabulous QR code, so you can always go to the site and watch their videos and look at their instructions on how to use this ruler. And it has the fabulous Creative Grids grippy that I love it when they put it in the seam allowance. That's really my favorite. And it's got grippy all around, plus it's got lines going in all 4 directions. And that's because this will make 4 patches in almost any size. Like, it's crazy. It has 1/2 inch finished. So that means that once your little 4 patch is done, it'll be a 1/2 inch in the quilt. So tiny, tiny little 4 patches, all the way up to, it goes to as big as 4-inch finished. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do a 3-inch finished 4-patch. And here's how I would make sure that like your strips are big enough, is figure out what size finished 4-patch you want. And so let's say, I don't know, let's say I want a 3.5 inch finished 4-patch, which is gonna be this line right here. I'm gonna put this on my mat and I'm gonna see that the 3.5 inch finished. And now this is interesting because this line right here is actually gonna go on your seam allowance line. So I need 2 inches and 1/4. So I need 2 1/4 inches. So multiply it by 2, because the way we're making this, and just trust me, so that'd be 4.5 inches. So I would use at least a 5-inch strip, because I'm going to round up. I'll add at least 1/2 inch to whatever number it gives me. So you need at least a 5-inch strip to make a 3.5 inch finished. I right here have a 4.5 inch strip, because we are going to make a 3-inch finished, because a 3-inch finished is going to be 2 inches for each side, so it's 4 inches, round up 1/2 inch, 4.5 inch strip. All right, trust me, when you watch this video the second time, it's gonna make so much more sense. So we have our 2 strips that are at least 4.5 inches wide, put together, right sides together. They line up perfectly, and I'm gonna go ahead and sew down both sides. Okay, now I don't know if you can see, but my seam allowance is not perfect down here at the end. Not even worried about it. Okay, we're making 3-inch finished. And my piece here is bigger than I need for my 3-inch finish. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it in half. Actually, we'll cut it nicely with a ruler. Gonna line that up. There we go. Okay, so I'll have this to make another 4-patch later. So I'm going to take my 3-inch finish line, and I'm actually going to line it up on the stitching. And so that's great for if your seam allowance isn't perfect, because you're lining things up on the stitching. And just to make sure that I can see it really well, I've got my spot on dots, and I'm going to put that right on there. These need to be washed. That one's not sticking as well. If I wash it with a little soap and water, it'll get all adhesive again. But it'll still let me see through it, no problem. Okay, so I'm done that one. I'm gonna flip this one over. Also put it on that 3-inch finish line. And cut. Okay, now both of these I'm gonna press towards the dark. And now we have 2 strips that are doubled. We're going to line these up right sides together, and we can kind of feel with our fingers when they nest into each other, because I've got this top seam going this direction and the bottom seam is going that direction, so I'll be able to nest them right up against each other. And then I'm just going to clean up my edges because that's just going to make it easier for me to sew. There we go. And I'm going to stitch down both sides of this little sandwich, yeah, that I've got going on. I'm just going to cut off some of these thread tails here, get them out of my way. Okay, so now I have this funky little like tube going on, and remembering that I'm cutting 3-inch finished. I'll use my spot on dot to be able to see that really well. There we go. I'm gonna cut down this side. Flip this guy around. Same thing on this side. And this is why it's great if your seam allowances aren't perfect, because the seam allowances, we're not measuring against the seam allowance. We're measuring from the stitching line. So this makes it really, really great for scrappy pieces of fabric because we're not so worried about that line. And look, we just made 2 perfect little 4 patches. Now to press the seams on our 4 patches, I say swirl the seams. Here's how you swirl seams. I've got one fabric going in this direction, one going in this direction, and so I'm going to keep going all the way around in those directions. And that's just going to open up this middle. And then you're going to give it a press. And that nice swirled seam gives you a really nice flat block. We're going to do the same with our second 4 patch. This direction, this direction, this direction, this direction. And we have 2 perfect 4 patch blocks, and they finish at 3 inches. And what does that mean, finish at 3 inches? It means that right now when I measure it, it'll be 3.5. That's right, 3.5 inches. Because a 1/4 inch from each side is gonna come in. That's gonna be seam allowance in the quilt. So when it's in the quilt, it will be 3 inches, and that's my 3-inch finished 4 patch blocks. Again, this Turbo 4 patch will make 4 patches like this in finished sizes all the way down to a 1/2 inch finished. So that means that the 4 patch itself is 1 inch big, and then when it goes in the block, it is 1/2 inch finished, which blows my mind, it's so tiny, all the way up to a 4-inch finished 4 patch. So we made a good size one here at 3-inch finished. And this is a great way to use scraps. You just want to have them be a little bit less than the width of this, as how long your scrap pieces are, and then you want them the exact same width like we did at the beginning, making sure that they are larger than you need to be able to make your 4 patches. So hopefully that all makes sense, but I promise you when you use the tool, it will. If you are a scrap quilter, you will love this tool. If you don't do a lot with scraps, you know what? Honestly, this may not be the ruler for you, but there are so many fabulous rulers out there. And this is the 11th ruler. No, this is the 10th. Sorry, this is the 10th ruler of the month quilt that I've done. And so I have 9 other videos like this, plus a couple other bonus videos in there on using different quilting rulers. So there are plenty of quilt rulers out there to serve the purposes that you need in order to make your quilts. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I have so much more quilting fun coming your way. Just want to make sure that you hit the subscribe button and then that bell so you're notified every time I have a new video for you, which I will soon. And I'll see you right back here. Thanks so much, friends. Bye for now.